computer. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for jumping on our call. Can everybody hear me? Please do like that if you hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Then again, welcome. And tonight we will be using technology, and I will be recording this call as well. And then my name is Radka Prusha. I am a holistic nutritionist, cancer researcher, and this presentation is specifically about the connection, about the food, mood, and gut connection, and the knowledge about the microbiome. Every day we have some new science coming out. Then it's really very new and very alive field of the science. Then I will tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Czech Republic, and actually both my parents, they were microbiologists, and my dad was really the master of the fermentation, and he was running a big research and development institution, and then I was finishing my master's in biology. I had so many plans with my dad, but he was diagnosed with cancer when he was 60 and passed away within 6 months. Then that took my course of my life, different direction. I really wanted to work in a field where finding that magic bullet against cancer. And I ended up in Montreal, where I work in a breast cancer research and bone marrow transplant for 9 years. And I have 2 kids, son and daughter, and eventually left the science and wanted to work in the wellness industry. Then we moved to the West Coast, and I started to work in a naturopathic clinic. And there it was, suddenly I learned like our body has that self-healing capacity if you give it what it needs. And that really pointed me to the science of nutrition. And would you be so kind and mute yourself? I am recording this.
I don't know how do I mute?
You do. Just one moment, I will check mute. Rosa, it was you? I muted you. Okay. Okay, now where we are, everybody.
Oh, there.
No, somebody is still not muted. I can hear you. And now I couldn't find myself. There we
it's
go.
Miriam.
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 I came to find her, and now I couldn't even find myself. Then Miriam, mute. Okay, I mute Miriam.
There you go.
Okay, excellent. Then, all right. Then I will take this away. Then I will start the presentation here. Wait a slideshow. There we go. Then that was a little bit about myself. Then and then I decided I will do my master's in nutrition. Then I opened my nutritional practice as well. And then today we'll be mostly talking about food and mood and gut connection. Then this is all saying that all disease begins in the gut, and it's very much truth. And now new science is really showing and pointing this all saying a long time ago. It's really coming to the place. And I remember when I work in a naturopathic clinic, we always look in the gut as the first answer to many health issues. And but before we jump into our microbiome, then I really wanted more point about our cells, because our body is built from the cells, and we have literally trillions and trillions of the cells. And the cells, if we have healthy cells, we have healthy organs, because cells, they make the organs, and we have healthy body. For some reason, the cells, they are not properly nourished, not good nutrition, stress, toxins, and so on, not enough water, then we can't to have a healthy organs. And one actually very interesting part in the cell is the one of the organelle. It's something which we call mitochondria, and you see it here on the screen under mitochondrion. And that it's actually has a lot to do with this presentation because it's showing how symbiosis between bacteria and human occur, because actually mitochondrion, it's a bacteria which lives in our cells but became the organelle actually and creating energy in our body. Then the glucose is changed in the mitochondria into the energy, and as the waste from it is the free radicals. And these free radicals, they can be causing a lot of damage in our body, which we call oxidative stress. And what is actually protecting us from this oxidative stress is the antioxidants which we found in the fruits and vegetables. And oxidative stress can be, again, it's not only because it's the price, because we are alive, but can be caused by the nutritional stress, by the psychological stress, by chemicals, disease, and so on. Then actually the oxidative stress can be, again, underlying cause of any degenerative diseases. And then if we look at it, if we talk about diseases, then number one killer in our society is cancer. And number two is cardiovascular diseases. And number three, it's the neurological diseases, and number four, the autoimmune diseases. And through this presentation, we were starting to see the causes of all these long-term chronic degenerative diseases. Then this is a little bit about our cell, and then actually that amazing way how through the evolution and symbiosis about it with the human and bacteria. Then now we know we have over 100 trillion bacterial cells in our body. Then they really outcome us very much. And if we look at it, we are really this mothership of a lot of different microbes. And there are some good guys and there are bad guys. And we really want having mostly this good guys, because if we have 85% to 90% healthy bacteria, then this is really keeping our microbiome healthy and our guts very healthy and all our overall body. The 10% having some pathogenic bacteria is actually, or 5%, it's okay because they are teaching our immune system function. But the worst is actually when these good guys, they are getting destroyed, and bad guys, they take over. And this is when we call this dysbiosis, which can cause a lot of different long-term chronic degenerative diseases. And then if we look what really can damage actually our microbiome, then if you can imagine how healthy microbiome looks like, it's like rainforest before we started to destroy it by deforestation and so on, then has this variety, diversity of different plants and animals and so on. And this is exactly how healthy microbiome, the diversity of the microbes, it's very important as well. But if we damage it, then this is when it's actually becoming that dysbiosis, that bad guys, they are winning and they are destroying the good guys, and actually that can be causing all these degenerative diseases. Then what can actually damage our microbiome? There are antibiotics. You know, antibiotics, they came to the place when Dr. Fleming discovered them. Before that, the number one killer in the world, they were infectious diseases. And there always came some plague, and a lot of people passed away. And in the end of the 18th century, actually the lifespan in the world, in France, for example, was 40 years. Then we really, as we evolve a lot. Like now, it's if somebody passes away and they are 40 years old, we think they were very, very young. Then antibiotics actually, they help actually prolong the lifespan of the humankind, but we unfortunately started to abuse them. And then I remember where I grew up, our pediatrician, we call him Dr. Penicillin, because he was giving for everything penicillin, and that was abuse of the antibiotics. Then they have the place, but they unfortunately are not selective. They destroy bad guys and good guys. Then if you are taking any antibiotics, at the same time you need to take probiotics. I just take the 3 hours between, but it's very important to be replenished at the same time. Now research is showing when people, they started to take probiotics after the course of antibiotics, that the probiotics then don't incubate in our intestines. Then it has to be during. The steroids, the pill, is actually now we know even non-steroidal medication like aspirin, they can cause that damage of the intestinal lining, which we call leaky gut syndrome. Other drugs, stress, poor diet, infections, disease, bottle feeding. And I will stop a little bit here and talk about importance of baby being born through the natural birth, because baby is actually, it's living in sterile environment as in a mom wounds, but when he's going through the birth canal, this is the time when actually the incubation from the mom's microbiome, it's coming on the skin and the mouth of the baby. Then now if baby is born by cesarean section, then doesn't go through this process, and actually the microbiome first, the bacteria is getting from the nurse and from the hospital. Then now more advanced hospitals, when baby is born by cesarean section, they actually take the swab of from the hair genitals, and they actually give it in the mouth of the baby. It's like incubating that good bacteria in the baby. Other very important part is breastfeeding, because with that, it's not only baby, it's developing healthy immune system, but really giving a baby the nutrients which they are feeding, actually specifically healthy bacteria, microbiome. The breast milk contain very complex sugars which baby can't digest. They are literally for feeding healthy microbiome. It's why the breastfeeding is extremely important. With the old age, we are losing again a diversity of the microbiome. Then unfortunately, it's a lot of research now showing how when it's decreasing that diversity of the microbes, then people, they are getting sicker and sicker. Pollution, radiation, alcohol, and toxic chemicals that can cause all damage of our microbiome. But what these bacteria, what they do in our body, they protect us from the pathogens. They actually taking care of the health and integrity of the gut, which is very important. And it's actually protecting from that leaky gut syndrome, from the holes in the gut. And I will go more into detail in the next slides. Then there are really this housekeeping. They are housekeepers. They really make everything clean. They help with digestion and absorption. Then we are what we eat, but if we take it further, we are what we absorb. Then a really very important role actually bacteria playing in that. One, vitamin nutrients production, detoxification, and immune system modulation, which is extremely important because 85% of our immunity is actually in our guts. Then the bacteria, they are teaching immune system, then very, very important. Then there's some example of what kind of nutrients our gut flora synthesizes. That is vitamin K, pantothenic acid, folic acid, vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, vitamin B12, and various amino acids and proteins. Then now you can see if people, like let's say baby, doesn't develop proper healthy microflora, that can create cascades of the nutritional deficiencies. And the same it's with the adult. Then very often people which they have dysbiosis, they have problem with digestion, IBS, celiac, Crohn's, and all that, they are very malnourished because these nutrients, they are not synthesized by the bacteria because healthy bacteria it's missing. Then, and this is very big under cause of any mental illnesses in the kids, like learning disorders, ADHD, autism, and so on. And I will go more into detail in a few minutes. Then we were talking about leaky gut syndrome. What really, if you can imagine, you have the garden hose, and there are some holes in that hose, and then the water is leaking out. And this is exactly what is happening in our intestines. Then this is the picture of the small intestine. And then as you can see, you have here healthy gut lining, which we call that is villi and microvilli. And that is where is absorption in that small intestines is happening. And if anything is healthy, then it's our very tight junctions. And then what it's in our guts, that doesn't go in our bloodstream. But if for some reason, like if we have a lot of stress, that's because stress hormones, they can cause the holes in that intestine, the leaky gut, toxins, pathogens, different drugs, as I was mentioning, even aspirin, can cause actually that which we call leaky gut syndrome. And what is in our intestine, actually like pieces of the foods, pathogenic bacteria, different antibodies, they actually leak in our blood circulation and cause a lot of problems. And then can potential autoimmunity. Why? Because it's constantly irritating actually our immune system, and the immune system started to produce autologous antibodies, which they eventually started to attack our own body, which we call autoimmunity. Then, for example, if that antibodies attack the pancreas, then person get diabetes 1 because it's destroying the cells which are producing insulin. If that antibodies attack our myelin sheath in our neurons, which are protecting our neurons, then a person get multiple sclerosis. Then these are autoimmune diseases. And actually, we talk about what it's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 actually killer in our society. And prognosis is by 2030, autoimmune diseases, they will be one of the biggest burden on the humankind. And of course, the systemic inflammation, and systemic inflammation is again under cause of any degenerative diseases. Is that fire within, which is destroying us on a cellular level, can be even destroying our DNA. Then it's why leaky gut syndrome, we have to really address it. And allergies. And if I don't know who is here on this call which didn't ever took any antibiotics, and it really takes up to 2 years to regrow your microflora, then it's a lot of time. And if that person going on the top of it through some psychological stress, not proper nutrition, then can create again cascade of a lot of different disorders, and specifically allergies. Then because the pieces of the food which they should be not in the bloodstream, they are in bloodstream, and immune system is just doing their work. They should be attacking them, but this is what is causing that allergic reaction. Then this is a little bit about leaky gut syndrome. And I really want to talk a little bit more about how actually our gut, which we call now our second brain, communicate with this first brain, our brain in our head. Then that communication occurs through the multiple channels. And one of them is through the nervous system using neurotransmitters. And the neurotransmitters, they go through the vagus nerve. And vagus nerve, we're calling him wandering nerve because it's really coming from our intestines all the way to the brain and branch to all our organs and muscles and so on. Then it's really very often people which they have problem with the guts, they first of all can start to have problem with mental illnesses, depression, anxiety, and so on. Or they can have muscle pain. They can have problem with the breathing because the vagus nerve goes to the lungs, to the heart, and so on. Then this is when it's dysbiosis, that gut, it's not healthy, that it's how it's talking to our first brain, something is really wrong, do something about it. The immune system using molecules which we call cytokines, and that goes through the blood system. This is how our immune system communicate between this communication between two brains. And it goes both ways. There's that biofeedback from the brain to our guts as well. And endocrine system, which most people it's familiar with the hormones such as cortisol, and that goes again through the blood system. Then this is the picture from the book Psychobiotic Revolution, and then authors here showing how that vagus nerve is going from this, we call it enteric nervous system, which is in our guts. It's going all the way to the brain, to the vagus nerve. Then this is how we know something is going really wrong in our guts. And this is some imaging of all this way of communication. Then you have a picture of the vagus nerve. As you could see, it really goes through whole our body, our immune system, neurotransmitters, and neurons. Actually, our brain has over 100 billion neurons, but our guts has 100 million neurons. Then we don't call it second brain for not reason. It's really a lot of information is happening in our guts. And as I said, education and modulation on our immune system is happening in our guts as well. And how the guts influence our mood, then bacteria in your gut, it's secreting actually very important neurotransmitters which have antidepressant properties like dopamine, serotonin, and GABA. Then again, having that healthy microbiome, it's keeping you happy as well, and that is very important. This was done research on the bacteria from the gut of the mouse, and this mouse actually we call it's germ-free. Then it's sterile, doesn't have any microbiome, no bacteria in the gut, and has almost no production of the serotonin. That it's not happy camper. Then they took from other mouse which had normal microbes in their intestine, and they did stool transplant to this unhappy, depressed mouse, and they found actually the microbiome was restored, and this mouse became again happy camper and started to produce some serotonin. And it's the same happening in the human brain. This was research study done on gut microbiome and actually diversity and how it influences behavior of the children. And they found when kids, they have healthy, developed microbiome, not destroy, they were not pathogens, they were healthy bacteria, diverse bacteria, they were healthy kids. Then they were more creative, they were more calmer, they were actually more outgoing, they were happy kids. Then this is how actually it's extremely very important link with the gut flora and healthy microbiome and behavior. This is a brilliant book written by British doctor Natasha Campbell McBride, and she Gut and Psychology Syndrome. It was published in 2002. Then it was very pioneering book at that time, and showing how all these mental or learning disorders in children, and eventually developing later to the depression and schizophrenia in the adults, it's all linked to the dysbiosis, that unhealthy microbiome. And she was actually from the first hand, because her son was autistic, and she was treating him, mostly treating his gut and healing his gut. Then that is a brilliant book, and I will really recommend it to read to you. And I remember when I worked in a naturopathic clinic, when we had any kids with autism, dyslexia, ADD, ADHD, we always went first and started to help to heal the gut. Because very often these kids, they start being very picky eaters. They don't eat too much fruits and vegetables, and they were already actually born with not healthy microbiome. Sometimes it can be even the mom that had actually very unhealthy microbiome, a lot of pathogenic bacteria, and that kid was not really incubated with a very healthy microbiome, because this is where the children mostly, they get their microbiome being built in that first 20 days in their life. It's from the mom, right? Then again, this book is really very brilliantly written. Other very revolutionary book written now more than 15 years later than a book from Dr. McBride, The Psychobiotic Revolution, and it's written by Drs. Anderson, but mostly it's interviewing Dr. John Crane from they are Irish doctors, and they are really showing, they are the neurologists, and showing the link again between gut and health of the mind and mental health. And mental health, it's really a very gray area still in the medicine, and then this is really why they call it a psychobiotic revolution, because it's really revolutionary how they show how healthy microbiome is actually taking care of our healthy brain as well. Then what kind of food actually are feeding our microbiome? The good food, like green, non-starchy vegetables, whole grains like rice, quinoa, millet, tapioca, semolina, starchy vegetables, and fruits. Here we go. Then this is our new Canadian food guide. It's creating healthy bacteria, because bacteria, what eats, it's the fiber, the complex starches, and complex sugars. And actually now research is showing it needs a special essential fatty acid, mostly omega-3 fatty acid. And again, the highly processed food and food which doesn't belong actually even in our cupboards, doesn't belong in our body, and doesn't not create your healthy microbiome. And this is from the same book, The Psychobiotic Revolution, and they created the psychobiotic food pyramid. As you can see, again, fruits and vegetables, whole grains. I will really recommend no gluten, or at least sprouted grains, because it's so much easier to digest. Nuts, seeds, oils, fermented food, they are very important, because they again support our healthy microbiome. They are so much easier to be digested, because they are pre-digested by the lactic bacteria. But if you have any kind of the cautions, if you have any digestive problem, be careful with the fermented food, actually even with the fiber, because then take it easy and add it slowly. Then because when this changes in your microbiome happening, can be sometimes you can have some problem with digestion as well. Then I will share with you quickly that my story, actually, it's my son's story. This is my son Lucas when he was 6 years old, and he was diagnosed with pre-asthmatic condition. And when he was 3 years old, then where we live, it was whooping cough, and Lucas, he got it not really full blown, but it was always his lungs, they became that big link in his body. When he started to go grade 1, being around a lot of kids, then he was just getting sicker and sicker. All his upper respiratory system was inflamed. He had circles under the eyes, coughing. He couldn't concentrate in the school, and he was 1 week at school, 1 week at home. He was not happy camper, and I tried with him everything: elimination diet, B12 shots, no gluten, no dairy. We had so many supplements at home. Somebody who has a dog, would you be so kind and mute yourself? Thank you. And then homeopathy, hydrotherapy, B12 shots, and he was just getting sicker and sicker, and he couldn't go even in the gym. Then I took him to the doctor, and doctor told me, well, he is developing pre-asthmatic condition. You have to put him on a puffer. And I said, I don't want to do that because I knew all the side effects. Then he sent me at home, and you're on your own. And then I was at the end of my rope. I didn't know what else to do for Lucas. And then my friend actually shared with me that plant powders, which is 30 different whole food, 30 different fruits and vegetables, and plus the shakes, which are other 15 plants. Then what is so powerful about these plant powders, which we call Juice Plus, it's they were picked where their wine ripen. And I've actually asked my friend, do they have any research behind it? Because I really wanted to start Lucas on it because I didn't have anywhere to go. And she said, yes, it's showing actually how it's decreasing oxidative stress. It's showing in the nutrients that are showing in the people's bloodstream, decreasing inflammation, improving immune system function. Then we give it a try, and I learned how actually it's Juice Plus made and why it's so powerful, because all these fruits and vegetables, they are growing, they are picked when they are in the highest peak of ripeness. It means they have all the nutrients which they should have. They are in them, and mostly it is the last few days of the ripening of the produce. When you buy the produce in the store, very often it's picked when it's green tomato, and it actually has the nutritional value. It's probably 50% or less. Then has the high nutritional value. It's growth without any pesticides, herbicides, heavy metal. Then they can use whole plant. They can use orange with the grind, which has a lot of, actually most of the antioxidants that are in the grind of the orange. Apple with the skin, and with they can use the seeds and everything. And apple, the seed apple contain what vitamin B17, which is big cancer killer, and so on. Then, and it's grown no GMO, and it's vegan. The capsule, it's vegan as well, and has literally no sugar. Then even the cancer patients, diabetic, they can use it because that sugar content, it's not there. And then if you look at it like this, if you look our body being like this engine, car engine, then what our car needs is this, it's gasoline, which has this macronutrients, which has this complex carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, which has this macronutrients. But what needs as well, it's just a little bit of that oil, and these micronutrients, which we find mostly in the fruits, vegetables, and berries, they are that oil, that which is running the cellular machinery properly. Then is why is it so important that Juice Plus Complete actually they add these macronutrients, they are the amino acids, the proteins, fats, and complex carbohydrates. And it's again, they are the plants, they are whole, no GMO, and again, vegan as well. Then actually in 2 months after we started Lucas on the Juice Plus, I was signing him the karate classes. His lungs they completely clear up, and he was happy kid. Then that changed really our family life, and now that was happening 19 years ago, and now Lucas is 25 years old, an engineer and scuba dive master. And before he was going in the diving, they had to do tests of his capacity of the lungs, and they found no sign he had any problem with the lungs. Then this is our son's story. And other product which actually Juice Plus line has is Juice Plus Omega Blend. And now research showing how omega-3 fatty acids they are so important for the healthy microbiome. And it's again they are vegan. Yes, we skip the fish because omega-3 fatty acids, fish doesn't make them. She actually eats them. Fish eats them in algae. Then we skip the fish and we go right away to the source, which they are the algae. Then it's omega-3 that are coming from the algae, and blends like the fatty acids 5, 6, 7, and 9. They are coming from the seeds of the different plants, like the raspberry seeds and pomegranate seeds and sea buckthorn berries. Then they are very powerful. Now research is showing how omega-7 fatty acids are so important for the cardiovascular health. And again, it's wonderful for your skin because all these oils that are so healthy for your skins. Then that is omega, and they are vegan as well. And what is actually, again, very important about the Juice Plus Omegas, I absolutely love them. They came on the market now 1.5 years ago. And is when they are doing encapsulation, it's everything under low temperature. Then this very fragile fast, they don't get destroyed, which it's not too many products like that encapsulated fat product like that, which they go in a low temperature, then nothing is destroyed. This is, again, we were talking already about the Juice Plus Complete. You can make your shake, you can have your breakfast to run, or pre-workout, post-workout drink, or just pick you up during the day. And what is actually fantastic, there's a lot of fiber and resistant starches, which is feeding your microbiome. Then now research is showing we should be eating 9 to 13 servings of the raw fruits and vegetables, and that is not so easy to do. If you imagine this is the serving of the raw fruits and vegetables, then truthfully you look yourself on your day today or yesterday how many servings that you have. And now I will share my friend Robin's story, and I know Robin, she is on the call as well, and she shared with us that she was diagnosed with celiac at the age 10 and suffered from this multiple digestive immune problems from the age 10 to 43. Then, you know, it's exactly what I was saying, that link between the not healthy microbiome and all these other problems. And started Juice Plus at 43, and it really, because she was looking something which will decrease that inflammation. And first 4 months went from eating for food safety, eating for variety of food, which is wonderful. And she went to see her doctor, and the colonoscopy showed she has really stable small intestine after the celiac condition. And then actually research is now showing that people which they have celiac disorder, they have very much impaired immune system function. And actually Robin showed them you can repair it, then congratulations. This is such a exciting stories, and I can be sharing story after story as far as these plant powders, but they are backed up by the solid research. We have over 40 studies published in peer-reviewed medical journals, because Juice Plus is in a capsule form, then scientists, they can make placebo. They are all that standard gold standard studies then, and they are showing how these phytonutrients, they are absorbed in the body, in the human beings. And we say we are what we absorb, right? And we are what our microbiome is eating, that it's really showing in the human body. Helps reduce oxidative stress, helps support healthy immune system function, protect your DNA, helps promote healthy skin, healthy gums, reduce key biomarkers of that inflammation, support cardiovascular wellness, and more studies they are coming on. We have even studies published in the journal of the American College of the Gynecology Oncology, which was studied on at the MD Anderson Cancer Center, how it's improving life of the ovarian cancer survivor. And we have study showing how Juice Plus is so healthy and amazing for future moms, for moms which they can't to be a mom, so that's really like the best fertility pill, if you will. And we have so many stories about that one as well. And it's studies, they were done in universities all around the globe, Yale universities, University of Florida, Vanderbilt University, Cambridge University, and so on. They are really very much renowned research institutional universities around the globe. And now I will share with you a quick video. I know I'm running a little bit over the time. And this is with Dr. Manfred, specifically speaking about the polyphenols and microbiome and Juice Plus.
Were absorbed into the bloodstream of test subjects in adequate amounts to target the tissues and organs that need them. Researchers tested 20 healthy subjects, both women and men, average age 33. For 2 weeks before the test, the participants avoided all supplements, dietetic products, drugs, and medications. For 48 hours before the test, they consumed the polyphenol-poor diet based on a list of permitted and forbidden foods to ensure that the polyphenols found in the blood on the day of the test were the result of taking Juice Plus. On the day of the test, after the subjects had fasted overnight, researchers took a baseline blood sampling. Then, each participant took 3 Juice Plus capsules, 1 fruit, 1 vegetable, 1 berry, along with 250 milliliters of water. That's all the Juice Plus they took for this test, 3 capsules, 1 time. Researchers then collected 4 additional blood samples over time, 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, and 10 hours after capsule intake. What did they find in the blood samples? Polyphenols. Some polyphenols appeared in the bloodstream only 1 to 2 hours after taking the capsules, suggesting they were absorbed in the upper gastrointestinal tract. Other polyphenols appeared in the blood later, between 5 and 10 hours after taking the capsules, suggesting they were absorbed in the lower gastrointestinal tract. But here is what's even more interesting. There were polyphenols in the blood that were not even present in the Juice Plus products. Where did they come from? The researchers postulate that the polyphenols from Juice Plus were converted by the body itself into other phenolic compounds in the colon's microbiome as well as in the liver. In other words, phytonutrients from Juice Plus encouraged our bodies to produce other beneficial micronutrients. The data also suggests that polyphenols from Juice Plus help nourish the gut microbiome, the billions of microorganisms that live in our guts and are vital to our health and well-being. Amazing, isn't it? We keep learning more and more about why consuming plenty of phytonutrients from fruits and vegetables every day is so essential to good health, and how some of those benefits can occur almost immediately.
Then that was Dr. Manfred, and on the polyphenols and how our microbiome is creating even more nutrients. And the last product, which you can be actually growing all this food, which will be supporting your healthy microbiome, it's something which is called Tower Garden, and it's Tower Garden by Juice Plus, the same company as the powders. And it's aeroponic growing system using just water and nutrients, then doesn't use the soil, and you use, it's very sustainable, high sustainability, sustainable, because you use so much less water. I think it's like 98% less water that you will normally use. And it's, again, you can grow completely organic, no GMO, your food, and really pick it, literally we call it, from the tower to the table, and talk to person who invited you to this presentation, and they can send you some more information if you will be interested to grow your own food, even in the winter in the prairies with the grow lights. And then thank you so much for listening to me today. And we are what we eat, what we absorb, and we are what we feed with our microbiome. Then I thank you so much for listening to us and to me. And I always love to give people 3 different options. Then if it's something, at least start the bridge, that gap in our nutrition with this plant powders. And again, talk to person who invited you, how you can do that. And second option is we have amazing children health study, which we call Healthy Starts, when adult or who orders Juice Plus can sponsor a child between age 4 until 19, and if they are in post-secondary school until age 26 for up to 4 years. And it is one of the largest nutritional observational studies done on the kids. We have over 1 million kids in 17 countries in this study. And the third one, it's if you are already thinking, well, a lot of people, I have some friends which they really need to see this information and they will benefit from these plant powders. We are looking for the people which they will help us in our mission, which is inspiring healthy living around the globe. As you can see, we can use the technology and in our communities. Again, thank you so much for listening to me. And again, turn to the person who invited you if you have any questions. And I will stop recording and we can, if you have any question, I can still stay on the line. Just one moment.